The polished glass doors of Sterling & Co. gleamed under the Parisian sun, reflecting the bustling Rue de Rivoli. Inside, the air hummed with the sophisticated murmur of high finance, the clack of expensive shoes on marble, and the hushed tones of important conversations. It was an elite world, a gilded cage for many, but for Mia, it was simply a place of work, and, increasingly, a place of quiet torment. Mia was an office girl, a silent shadow flitting between cubicles, restocking paper, refilling coffee machines, and emptying bins. She was young, barely out of her teens, with eyes that held a depth far beyond her years. What made her stand out, and tragically, a target, was her silence. Mia had been born mute. Her voice, a gift most took for granted, had never been hers to command. Her colleagues, a collection of sharp-suited executives and impeccably dressed administrative staff, saw her as little more than a ghost. A ghost, however, with a distinct, and to them, offensive, presence. Mia often smelled of stale sweat. Her uniform, though clean, always seemed to shade to worn, and her dark hair, perpetually escaping its flimsy elastic, framed a face that rarely showed emotion, a necessary shield against the daily onslaught. "Here comes the walking laundry basket," whispered a marketing executive, Lena, one morning, as Mia approached the communal coffee machine. A ripple of suppressed giggles followed. Mia's shoulders would hunch almost imperceptibly, her gaze fixed on the industrial-sized coffee maker, her fingers fumbling with the filters. When she entered the pantry or the break room, conversations would abruptly cease. Noses would wrinkle, hands would subtly fan the air, and staff would deliberately shift away, leaving a wide, invisible berth around her. Then, as soon as she turned her back, the laughter would erupt, sharp and cruel, echoing in the sterile space. They called her the mute maid, Stinky, or simply it. They assumed her silence equated to ignorance, her inability to speak a lack of understanding. They believed she was a pity case, someone inconsequential, incompetent, and utterly oblivious to their barbed remarks. Mia, they thought, was a blank slate, incapable of feeling the sting of their words. They were wrong. Every sneer, every averted gaze, every whispered joke chipped away at her, leaving her feeling hollowed out, a phantom in a world that refused to acknowledge her humanity. Her days were a monotonous cycle of humiliation and unseen labor. Yet, Mia performed her duties with a quiet diligence that went unnoticed. She polished desks until they gleamed, ensured every printer tray was full, and meticulously wiped down surfaces no one else bothered with. Her hands, though calloused from work, moved with a surprising grace, a silent testament to her dedication. Then, a new kind of tension began to ripple through Sterling & Co. It started subtly, a missing box of high-end pens. Then a new laptop charger, followed by an entire ream of expensive paper. Soon, more valuable items vanished. A designer briefcase, a limited edition watch left on a desk, even a small antique desk clock from Mr. Harrison's private collection. The atmosphere shifted from casual annoyance to palpable suspicion. Whispers of internal theft began to circulate, replacing the usual office gossip. Mr. Harrison, the stern, impeccably dressed CEO, was not a man to tolerate insubordination, let alone theft. He decided to act discreetly. With the help of a few trusted staff members whom he truly believed in, he ordered the installation of hidden surveillance cameras in areas not reached by regular CCTV, including the back storage room. The employees were unaware of these camera installations. Late into the evenings, long after everyone else had left, a faint light would sometimes glow from the back storage room. She wasn't just organizing. She was meticulously going through old invoices, cross-referencing inventory lists, and even making her own silent notes on a worn pad, trying to track the missing items, trying to help in her own quiet way. She was a silent detective, piecing together clues no one else bothered to notice, hoping to clear her own name, or perhaps, just to do her part. Days turned into a week. The hidden cameras had been recording diligently. Mr. Harrison, with a grim expression, finally reviewed the footage. He had expected to catch a culprit, perhaps even Mia red-handed. What he saw instead brought him to his knees. The following Monday, the entire staff was summoned to the main conference room. The atmosphere was thick with apprehension. Mr. Harrison stood before the large screen, his face pale, his usual stern demeanor replaced by a profound sadness. "I have something to show you," he said, his voice unusually soft. The video began to play. It showed Mia, not stealing, but living. The first clip showed her late at night, long after the office was empty. She wasn't leaving. Instead, she was meticulously arranging cardboard boxes into a makeshift bed in a secluded corner of the storage room. She pulled out a threadbare blanket, folded neatly, and lay down, curling into a small ball. The next morning, before dawn, she was up, carefully dismantling her bed, hiding the blanket. Then came the clips of her cleaning herself. Using a small, plastic cup, she would fill it with water from the pantry sink. Then discreetly carry it back to the storage room. There, with remarkable ingenuity, she would use the tiny stream of water to wash herself. Her movements precise and economical. Her soap was a tiny sliver of dishwashing liquid, salvaged from the office kitchen. The sweat smell they had so cruelly mocked was not a sign of laziness or poor hygiene. It was the desperate reality of someone with no access to proper facilities, someone trying to make do with almost nothing. The footage continued. It showed her washing her worn uniform in the same sink, scrubbing diligently with the harsh dish soap, then hanging it to dry on a makeshift line strung between two shelves, hoping it would be dry by morning. It showed her eating meager meals, often just a piece of bread or a fruit, carefully unwrapped from a small, plastic bag. But it wasn't just about her survival. The cameras also captured her silent efforts to help. Night after night, Mia would meticulously reorganize files, clean computer screens, and dust keyboards, going far beyond her duties. And then, the most poignant revelation, she was seen poring over inventory lists, comparing them to the company's purchase orders, and then writing down notes on her worn pad, a list of the missing items, their estimated value, and even possible dates of disappearance. She was trying to solve the mystery of the thefts, silently, diligently, in her own way. She was trying to protect the very people who scorned her. The final clip was the most heartbreaking. It showed Mia, curled on her cardboard bed, a small, faded photograph clutched to her chest. Tears, silent and unending, streamed down her face. The camera zoomed slightly, revealing the image, a young girl, smiling brightly from a wheelchair. It was her sister, paralyzed, whose medical bills consumed every penny Mia earned. Every single franc she sent back to their small village. Her entire meager salary, which barely covered her own existence, was dedicated to her sister's survival. That was why she couldn't afford a room, why the office storage room had become her secret refuge. When the screen went black, the conference room was utterly silent. No one moved. No one spoke. The air was thick with a collective, suffocating guilt. Then, a sniffle broke the silence, followed by another, and another. Lena, the marketing executive who had often led the mockery, buried her face in her hands, sobbing uncontrollably. Others openly wept, their faces contorted with shame and regret. They had seen it, the mute maid, as a nuisance, a source of disgust. They had never seen Mia, the dedicated daughter, the sacrificing sister, the silent guardian. Mr. Harrison, his voice thick with emotion, finally spoke. I was wrong, he choked out, wiping a tear from his eye. We were all wrong. That very day, the atmosphere at Sterling & Co. underwent a profound, irreversible transformation. The laughter died, replaced by a somber respect. One by one, hesitantly at first, then with increasing sincerity, employees approached Mia. They didn't speak, they couldn't. Instead, they offered small, heartfelt gestures, a fresh cup of coffee, a warm pastry, a gentle touch on her arm, a silent nod of apology. Lena, with tear-streaked eyes, pressed a small, beautifully wrapped gift into Mia's hand, a bottle of expensive perfume. Mia, for the first time, offered a small, tentative smile. Mr. Harrison, true to his word, acted decisively. He arranged for Mia to have a comfortable, fully furnished apartment nearby, paid for by the company. He also established a trust fund for her sister's medical expenses, ensuring she would receive the best care. And, recognizing Mia's quiet intelligence and dedication, he offered her a full scholarship to a prestigious business school, with a guaranteed position at Sterling & Co. upon graduation, not as an office girl, but as a junior analyst. The thefts, it turned out, were indeed internal, committed by a disgruntled former employee who had copied keys before leaving. Mia's meticulous notes had provided crucial leads, helping the police recover most of the stolen items. Mia continued to work at Sterling & Co., but she was no longer a shadow. She was a valued member of the team, greeted with genuine warmth and respect. Her colleagues learned to communicate with her through gestures, written notes, and, most importantly, through understanding. They saw beyond her silence, beyond her humble appearance, to the extraordinary strength and compassion that lay within. The office, once a place of cold judgment, had become a community, bound by a shared lesson in empathy, taught by the quiet strength of a young woman who had no voice, but whose actions spoke volumes.